Hello and welcome to CXP on campus. I'm your host, Jacob Brothers, and joined by me is my wonderful other host, Erica Sadora. Erica, how do you be today?
I am being good today. How are you be today?
I am also being good, but something that's being even gooder, you know it, you love it, CXP on campus. This week in the queue, we have Nace Starley Grand Finals recap. We're going to be talking about the University of Miami having a player banned for trash talking, and we're going to be talking about rhythm games making esports players better. All in this week of CXP on campus. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back, friends, and this is your Nace Starley Grand Finals recap. Nace Starley just had their Grand Finals this past weekend, and it was lit. They had like 5 different esports all going on across 2 days. There was a lot going on. So starting from the top, there was Rocket League, and in the finals, there was no Northwood. The finals was Stockton University versus Siena Heights University. Stockton won 4-2. But before we talk about Stockton, we got to talk about Siena Heights. Siena Heights beat Northwood. They beat them in a game 7. They were electric. They were consistent. And Northwood, I guess, wasn't ready for it. And I got to say, Siena Heights, good job. That is awesome. And then you get to the grand finals, and Stockton was really just being Stockton. Stockton was Stockton. Top cheese was top cheese. They were consistent. Stockton is becoming one of, I would say, probably one of the top 5 teams in Rocket League, and they looked like it in this tournament. They were just always on top of it. They have great offense. They have great defense, and they're able to pull the trigger. So congrats, Stockton. And congrats, Siena Heights. You guys did great. Moving on to CSGO. Stop me if you've heard this before. Drexel University won. they've won like the last like 4 or 5 Counter-Strike things. They are the kings of Counter-Strike. They took on the UCF Knights. So they defeated the UCF Knights 2-0. And in the first map, Drexel won 16-1. They are a very dominant team. They are a very strong team. In the second map, it was a more competitive game. Drexel won 16-11. So UCF got 10 more maps in game 2. And really, it's just Drexel didn't give UCF a chance to breathe. They were always on top of them. They always won the peaks. And the kills that UCF did get, they were usually through smokes or generally just weren't consistent. And so Drexel is this well-organized unit that is really good at making their opponents not have a chance to recollect and strategize. And that worked all the way through. So Drexel, you crushed it. Moving on to Overwatch, we had Illinois State University versus Harrisburg. This is a really interesting matchup considering that ISU Redbirds had the super team that was around for 3 months. And then the super team was like, hey, we're going to go to the Overwatch League, deuces. And so now ISU has a whole new roster. ISU did beat Harrisburg in the winners bracket. So this would have made the grand finals look really interesting. But HU was like, nah. Harrisburg, they came back with a vengeance. They won 3-0, and they proved why Harrisburg has always been talked about in every single Overwatch conversation since the beginning of Overwatch esports. It was a best of 3, or it was 3 maps. Harrisburg won 3-0. I mean, even in map 1 at Lijiang Tower, they got 2 100-0 captures. So the 2 points they captured were completely uncontested. ISU, they showed life. They would win a couple fights, but usually Harrisburg, they were always aggressive. They were always pushing forward, and ISU generally just couldn't keep up. So Harrisburg, you're back on top. Proud of you guys. And Erica, what else has been going on at Nace Star League?
We have Smash Bros and Call of Duty, but first let's hit on Smash Bros because Bay State versus UT Austin was an incredible matchup. So congratulations to Bay State for winning this match. This was done in a best of 3 crew battle, and if you don't know, that means 3 players take turns fighting 1v1s, and they share a pool of 12 lives. Bay State had 7 stock remaining, so they won by a large margin, and 6 of the stocks that UT lost were at the hands of Sonics. And if you don't know Sonics, we love Sonics here, and we actually did an interview with him, so check that out. And for Call of Duty, we have Northwood versus Bay State. Northwood won 5-0, and this was supposed to be a competition between these two, but it was hardly a competition because Northwood stomped. Northwood in 2 games against Bay State in this tournament went 7-0, and there was not much to say except that Northwood came in hot and they never cooled down.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. Yeah, it's interesting because in the CCL, Northwood and Bay State are ranked number 1 and number 2. And Bay State has beaten Northwood in the past, and so maybe it was a fluke. As the CCL goes on, that story will unfold. But that was your Nace Star League review. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about a University of Miami player getting kicked off a team for being toxic. Coming up after this. Welcome back to CXP on campus. Jacob Brothers here, Erica Sadora there, and we came across a very interesting situation with the University of Miami banning a player from their College COD League team for some trash talking. So there were two clips that went viral about a player named QPan of him trash talking. So here are the two clips right now.
Hey, don't scream! You're going You suck. It would never happen! To make the series fun! As the owner at, this is the second time you have sent a team to Florida to lose to me! You wasted thousands of dollars to lose to me! You need a plan!
And so, long story short, he talked smack. Everyone got riled up, and they started screeching in an esports cafe. Miami University then issued a statement confirming that QPan had breached their agreement and that it was against their code of conduct. So they let go of the player, and then the player tweeted that he was let go. So I have a lot of thoughts, but Erica, where do you go immediately when you hear this kind of a story?
So when we first talked about this, we both agreed that we really like tasteful trash talking when it's tasteful and when they can enter their villain origin story, totally fine. But when you're representing a whole university, it's a little bit different because then you're actually breaching their guidelines. So in one way it's like good for you that you were able to trash talk one tastefully, but not good on you for blowing up this like whole conversation in an esports cafe when people are just trying to game. You know what I mean, Jacob?
Yeah, let's not forget that this is the College COD League, and so it's a pretty important production. And so, yeah, I agree with you because trash talking, I think, is a vital part of sports. I mean, even in the first clip when he says the thing along the lines of "You've come here twice and you've lost to me twice," like that's great, and it got a rise out of the players as it should have. But then when it keeps on going, and then they're screeching at the top of their lungs in a cafe, that is just not good for anyone involved. So as far as Miami University is concerned, they made the right call. I'm going to go out on a limb and probably say that QPan probably doesn't feel bad about being toxic because esports has a lot of toxicity, especially Call of Duty. And he was like, "Hey, this is just a law on the land," which I think is half true. If you have the tasteful trash talking, I would say tasteful trash talking is the positive half of toxicity, and
Totally.
and like that part of toxicity should be around. I hot take. Um, and so there are some other teams that have been interested in picking up QPan, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But time will tell. But yeah, these clips went viral. I love these clips. I watched these way more times than I'd care to admit. It, it's just esports are awesome. But that's that. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about rhythm games making esports players better right after this. Welcome back for the last time of CXP on campus this week. Jacob here, Erica there. And we're here to talk about some science. We like science around here. And so do some scientists who like video games. So there was a study done by two Japanese scholars, and they did a research. Essentially, the experiment was they had people play rhythm games and then take some like cognitive tests, and they would perform better on the tests after playing the rhythm game. And the rhythm game was OSU or OSU, however you pronounce it. And that is a great rhythm game to do this test on because that game's cracked. It's just circles showing up everywhere, and you're like breaking your wrist on a mouse to like do rhythm. And it's interesting because like the logical jump of this research was like, so rhythm games are a good practice for esports players. It's a good way for esports players to warm up. And that's something I never really thought about before. And so Erica, my question to you, my galactic brain question to you is what other game genres do you think would be good for esports players to get better at esports that are not their
If it
game?
Okay. If it's not like a traditional rhythm game that they don't practice on like Osu or maybe even Tap Tap Revenge or Guitar Hero, anything that gets like the molecules moving in your brain, I am totally for. But I also believe games that like test your patience, so like Pokemon a little bit, is a great game to start off with.
Oh.
I know a lot of gamers start off with Pokemon to begin with, and now we're like really good at games, and we have like I don't want to say like a patient trigger figure because trigger finger because I don't in Valorant, but patience is really big. So Pokemon or any like slow paced story game, I would say. What about you,
Okay.
Jacob?
See, I kind of think in the opposite direction. I think a game that like focuses on the same things as their main esport, but in a different context. Like for example, a League of Legends player. I think that them playing a fighting game would be beneficial to them because it's all about reading your opponent and being reactionary and hitting all these complicated inputs. And League of Legends is kind of like that, but in a very different way of reading your opponent and hitting the buttons in the right order and executing your full rotation of moves. And so I think like fighting games or just like any like traditional action game where you're thinking and you're hitting lots of buttons, I feel like would be a really good warm up for esports players. But yeah,
Let me pick your
yeah,
brain a little bit more.
do it.
So, what game would you recommend for Overwatch players then?
Ooh, see, that's a hard one because like the first person shooter space, probably just a casual story game, but for a first person shooter,
Same.
like a Wolfenstein or something like that would probably be like really beneficial because you're keeping the fundamentals of aiming. Granted, all gaming have different aiming and all that, but you're maintaining the fundamentals. So then when you go into the game that you're more likely burned out on because you play it 24/7 because it's your job, um, you're already warmed up is what I would think. So I would say story games for a shooter probably because there's not many like first person shooter equivalents that you could focus on in the gaming world to like warm up
Like Duck
besides
Duck
a rhythm
Goose?
game.
Oh,
Like
not, I mean, like not
Duck
that's
Hunt,
not the game, but you know, yes, yes.
Duck
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 Hunt is a
Goose.
really great game.
My dog's my
Hey.
favorite. The dog's my favorite character in Duck Duck Goose. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that's what it'd be. I think story games would be really good for. Because I never even thought about that. Yeah, so maybe even like a God of War or something. Yeah,
Oh
what a
wow, God of
great,
War.
great answer,
That's
Erica.
fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you thought much better than me. But hey, and that's our show. We hope that you guys enjoyed this week of CXP on campus. For more, check out our stuff at checkpointxp.com. And remember that we will always and forever be on Plus Ultra. Love you guys. You guys have a great week.